Hey, DC Prep. It's me, Mr. Ford, Mr. Fantastic Ford on Instagram. And you guys can find me live there at 6 p.m. weekdays, Monday through Friday, every single day from 6 to 7. Hollering at y'all. But check it out right now. I'm about to come at y'all and read our book, Joey Pigza Swallowed the Key. Okay? Mr. Ford's going to start on chapter 1. And chapter 1 is off the wall. So I know you guys are grabbing your books. Go ahead and grab your books. Grab your books. I hope you had a good snack. Hope you had some cool fun time, inside or outside, as long as we're having fun. All right, and by now we should all have our books. So we're all gonna go ahead and read the first word on 3. 1, 2, 3. At school. They say I'm wired bad, or wired mad, or wired sad, or wired glad, depending on my mood and what teacher has ended up with me. But there is no doubt about it. I'm wired. Pause. Let's take a second to think, what does he mean by wired? Does he mean like cable wires? Or does he mean the way that he's wired? The way that he thinks? The way that he does things? All right, let's keep thinking about that. Picking back up, second paragraph, first word on 3. 1, 2, 3. This year was no different. When I started out, all the days there looked about the same. In the morning, I'd be okay and follow along in class, but after lunch, when my meds had worn down, it was nothing but trouble for me. One day, we were doing math drills in class, and every time Mrs. Maxey asked a question like, "What's 9 times 9?" I'd raise my hand because I'm really quick at math. But each time she called on me, even though I knew the answer, I'd just blurt out, "Can I get back to you on that?" Then I'd nearly fall out of my chair from laughing. And she'd give me that white-lipped look, which meant, settle down. But I didn't, and kept raising my hand each time she asked a question, until finally no other kid would raise their hand because they knew what was coming between me and Mrs. Maxey. All right, now take a second. Let's think. Who's Mrs. Maxey? Who's Mrs. Maxey and why is she important? Take 10 seconds to think independently. Who is Miss Maxey? Well, so far she's been telling him to settle down. So what role does she play? She the teacher? So Miss Maxey's Joey's teacher. And Joey's consistently doing what? What is Joey doing that Miss Maxey probably doesn't like? Okay. If you said he's interrupting class and being disruptive, you're absolutely right. So by him disrupting the class, how does this make Miss Maxey feel? Let's keep reading. "Okay, Joey," she'd say, calling on me and staring hard at my face as if her eyes were long fingers that could grip me by my chin. I'd stare right back and hesitate a second, as if I was planning to answer the question, and then I'd holler out really loud, "Can I get back to you on that?" Finally, after a bunch of times of me doing that in a row, she jerked her thumb toward the door. "Out in the hall." Out. You know when you do your thumb like that when I'm telling you guys to get out? "Get out in the hall," she said, and the class cracked up. So I went and stood in the hall for about a second until I remembered the mini Super Ball in my pocket and started to bounce it off the lockers and ceiling. And after Mrs. Deebs in the next class stuck her head out her door and yelled, "Hey, cut that racket," like she was yelling at a stray cat, I remembered something I wanted to try. I had seen the Tasmanian devil on TV whirling around like a top. Made me a little dizzy. Whirling around like a top. So I unbuckled my belt and pulled on the end really hard, as if I was trying to start a lawnmower. Mom, close the fridge. But that didn't get me spinning very fast. So I took out my high top shoelaces and tied them together and then to the belt and wrapped it all around my waist. Then I grabbed one end and yanked on it and sort of got myself spinning. I kept yanking on it. I kept doing it until I got better and better. And before long, I was bouncing off the lockers because I was dizzy too. Then I gave myself one more really good pull on the belt. And because I was already dizzy, I got going really fast and began to snort and grunt like the Tasmanian until Miss Maxie came out and clamped her hands on my shoulders. She stopped me so fast. I spun right out of my shoes and they went shooting in the hall. You glue your feet to the floor for 5 whole minutes, or you can just spin yourself down to the principal's office, she said. Now, what is your choice going to be? Can I get back to you on that? I asked. Her face turned all red. 5 minutes, she said. Settle down for 5 and you can rejoin the class. I nodded, and when she was gone, I wrapped the belt and laces around my middle and gave it a good tug and began to spin and slam into the lockers, and I got going so good. The gum I had under my tongue flew out and my Super Ball slipped out of my hand and went bouncing down the hall. And I kept going and going like when you roll down a steep hill, and before long I was bumping on the glass walls around the principal's office like a dizzy fish in a tank. The principal came out and pinned me against the wall, and we had a little talk about my behavior goals, and I spent the rest of the day on her office floor, sorting out all the used crayons that the kindergartners kept in the big plastic tubs until I had separate piles of blue and green and yellow, and you know the rest. Wow. Let's take a second. So, our friend Joey here has been dismissed from his classroom from consistently blurting out, "Can I get back to you on that?" Rude, right? So after he's been dismissed, another teacher has actually caught him in the hallway doing more disruptive things. And then his teacher comes out and gives him one final option to do the right thing. And what does he say? "Can I get back to you on that?" So right now, I want you all to take the time to think about Joey. Think about what Joey likes to do, what he doesn't like to do. And I want you to think about what the other characters in the story want from him, okay? Also, take 30 seconds to turn and talk. Make sure that you call up a friend or hit somebody on Instagram and ask them, "Hey, what do you think about Joey?" Get their opinion. Let's figure out how we're going to continue to follow these character actions, okay? Let's continue to watch our strategies in terms of where did our character begin. Let's continue to watch where our character goes and who our character interacts with, okay? You all go ahead and handle this first chapter, and I'll be back at you with another video for chapter 2. All right.